Hey guys, Andy Kroening here, one of the Rale athletes, and I'm really excited to go over my 2022 Rale MT 120. Got a couple of things that I want to chat with you about here in specific that make my kit or our kit particularly different of anything else that's on the Snowbike market. So a couple of things we're going to touch on first and foremost here is going to be the suspension articulation. So if I come around the back of the bike right here, the main difference in what's going to make this kit feel the most like a dirt bike of anything that you felt on the snow is going to be our suspension articulation. So being the rider weight is going to be centered over the pegs, noting how our suspension is going to work, we're going to get equal articulation from the front forks as well as from our single horizontal rear shock right here. So again, just showing you how much suspension action we get just with very little weight that's being added to the bike. Taking that idea is really allowing rider input to dictate the way that the bike is going to feel. Moving forward on the tank or forward closer to the tank is going to allow you to keep the front end a little bit more planted and keeping that ski closer or more on the snow. Keeping your butt or moving your weight further back on the seat, the ski is going to point all the way up in the air, and it's going to be a little wild, and hold on because it's going to feel exactly like a dirt bike when you lean back to preload and go over those whoops. So the suspension preload, the weight transfer, and again, the main concept behind the weight and the suspension travel and settings on this bike is what's making it particularly unique and that unique motocross feel. Moving down to a big topic of conversation here is going to be our front pivot point and this strut bar right here. So moving back to where the bike is going to pivot, all of the bike is going to be articulating on this front bolt. So when we're initiating a turn, everything is going to be pivoting on this front arm. So as we're initiating a turn, we're actually compressing the suspension just like a dirt bike, and the bike will actually turn in and pivot itself right on this front bolt right here and allow me to pivot the front suspension to give you the idea of how that's actually going to pivot. Noting that the back of the track is actually coming up off of the ground when we're initiating that sharp corner and preloading the suspension. So that is a huge conversation and something that really makes this bike feel, again, one and the same as if you're riding it on the dirt. The other conversation that needs to be had about this strut design is the fact that it's fully adjustable. So if you like a little bit more of a planted ride, or you want something that's going to keep that ski a little bit more down, you actually have the ability to not only adjust the length, but also the positioning of where the strut is going to bolt in on these Ice Age rails. So again, really desiring how you want the bike to feel, the characteristics. We don't need to offer variations of different kits. We just allow you to be able to customize how you want the bike to feel and handle simply by adjusting the position and the length of this strut rod. Let's also talk about another topic of conversation because I've heard this in the woods already. What is this going to get stuck on? Well, my answer is to tell you nothing. You can be on the most aggressive side hill, you can be dragging handlebars over, and at no point will you ever have any contact with any obstacles, stumps, rocks, anything like that. Should you have this metal plate in front of you, or your foot pegs will hit it before any obstacle behind you will. So this is kind of a hilarious conversation. You will never have any impact with this rear strut assembly. The next topic of conversation that we like to chat about here is our rear shock positioning right here. Not only does this allow you to run your factory shock directly out of the back of your dirt bike that you already have, but it also allows you to directly swap it over, or for this year, we also have an option to upgrade to a Zebra shock, which we'll go over in just a little bit. I actually have not had the time to put any seat time on that shock yet, and I've been really happy with the factory settings on this factory shock. There are some preload and some suggestions in the assembly box as far as some guidelines to set this, but nonetheless, very impressed with the quality of what the factory rear shock is allowing. Another conversation we should have as far as price point on this kit. The 2022 Rale MT 129 is $65.99 for a brand new kit. That's track, that's ski. The only thing that's not included in that $65.99 is gonna be your $300 fit kit, and it's available for all manufacturers and all competitive bikes. So it's gonna be the most aggressively priced kit out there, the most feeling like a dirt bike, and I would also say with 100% confidence, the most durable kit on the market as well. This kit has been tried and true at Western Power Sports dirt bike facility, or excuse me, their motocross facility, this kit has turned hundreds of laps on dirt with no modifications to it whatsoever. So if you want to talk about durability and its ability to prove itself in the most challenging conditions, where else could you do that other than a motocross track? So the kit has proven itself. It's coming with high-end components as well. We already mentioned the Zebro's shock. We've got Ice Age rails. We're using high-end German bearings and all of the drive components as well. So when we want to talk about quality, it doesn't get any higher than this. I'd already mentioned the Ice Age rails. We do have the 2.5-inch Camzo track. That is, again, a 2.5-inch design. You'll see the exact same track on the Yeti as well as the CMX kits as well. So very familiar as well. You also note that we are offering 2 lengths in the MT, or the Mountain Track series, which is available in a 120 as well as a 129. We do also offer an ST, which is a 120 configuration furthermore. So should you like to ride a little more aggressively, like a little more of an aggressive lug profile and design for a little bit more setup applications, that ST 120 would be available furthermore as well. Kind of one of the last things I wanted to talk about again is keeping true to our motocross geometry. So your front fork geometry, as far as the way that the bike stands, you are using the exact same geometry that your motocross bike uses. What is the benefit behind that? You have the ability to utilize factory suspension, valving. There is no need to go from dirt to snow bike valving or suspension configuration. I make 0 changes going from dirt to snow and vice versa. And again, keeping true to that dirt bike geometry while set up for snow is crucial to keeping that ratio on point. Furthermore, the last thing I wanted to chat about is going to be our billet spindle right here. There are 2 manufacturers on the market currently that are offering a billet spindle, of course, Rale being one of those. And I've had a good amount of experience with both billet spindles actually, and I can tell you from experience, if the other manufacturers don't follow this billet trend, they're misserving their customers. This is by far the most rigid, the most durable, best looking, but also again, the best all around setup. I've never seen a set of forks be trashed. I've never seen a set of fork tubes eaten. I've seen some serious impacts taken to this front end every single time the bike has been ridden out of the backcountry or that situation. So cannot say enough good things about this billet spindle. The rigidity, as well as, again, the ability to take those big impacts and keep riding throughout the day is what I really love about that setup. Moving on, one thing that I'm particularly excited about that I haven't had any experience with because I just got this, but we've been working with Zebros over the summer and last season to develop this shock, and this is specifically made for the rail application. The shock is available for all makes and manufacturers, so it is available for all bikes and is extremely adjustable, and that's the idea behind it. Yes, your factory shock is outstanding, but this is going to give you dampening and rebound adjustability and multi-position dampening and rebound adjustability, obviously fully preload adjustable as well. But this setup is going to give you a little bit more adjustability, as well as this shock will not heat up and dissipate if we are riding in those extremely whooped out, chopped out conditions. This shock will provide you a better ride and it won't dissipate like your stock option will. This shock available for $849 for the 22 and 23 season. Can't wait to get my setup on the snow to see what it feels like here as well. To speak to the suspension here, I did want to kind of just fill you in on the amount of suspension travel that we have. So I know with being able to flex the back end of the bike doesn't really do it justice. But on those big drops, those big jumps, believe it or not, but we can actually have enough suspension travel where we will nearly tuck the fender down to touch the top of the tunnel, as well as this rear bumper will articulate over 20 inches as well, depending on where the suspension is at in the stroke as well. And the last thing I really wanted to talk about, again, going back to the motocross feel and the body positioning of the bike. Again, sitting back on the bike, the ski will be up in the air, be dancing, and you'll be having the time of your life, wheeling like you've never wheelied before. Moving forward on the bike will actually allow the suspension to fully extend, which actually allows the back of the track to drop down and increase the attack angle, which promotes getting the front of the track up onto the snow. So speaking to extremely aggressive trail riding, motocross jumps, cliff drops, aggressive powder riding, which is kind of what my forte is, this kit is designed to serve all riders, all abilities. So please reach out to one of your local dealers. If I guarantee you that you have a Western Power Sports dealer within a short distance of a drive, any Western Power Sports dealer actually has the ability to provide one of these kits. Should you want to get out and ride and demo one, reach out to myself, any of my other Rale ambassadors. There's also a local dealer near you likely that has a kit available for demo as well. So reach out to us. Happy 2023, and we'll see you out there on the snow.